As for other topics, now we welcome Eric Mandel, founder and director of the Middle East Political Information Network. Mr. Mandel, let's start with this latest report from the Wall Street Journal saying that actually Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia did not convince Donald Trump to stop the attacks, and it's not because of them that he was about to, unleash the war against Iran and stopped because of their intervention. What are you making of this? What is the current, sense of positioning in the Arab world and the Gulf states specifically?
So first of all, thank you for having me. I take all of the reports, everything as with a grain of salt. There's so much out there that's misinformation, purposeful disinformation. I think Iran's strategy is still that time's on their side, and their demands, I think, are still uncompromising. Iran, we have to remember, has used the ceasefire to prepare for a renewed war. And I still believe that if kinetic action occurs, that the president, and he's the one who will make the decision, it's not Israel, starts a war again, it is going to be looking at the soft underbelly of American allies. That means increased targeting of the Gulf energy infrastructure, which could obviously further destabilize the world economy. And I think the Gulf nations are worried that they believe Iran is much more resilient than the United States. As far as my country's strategy from 6,000 miles away, and I'll be in Congress and State Department this week, there really can't be any compromise on the Straits of Hormuz, or for that matter, on the nuclear program. Mm-hmm. Well, what President Trump chooses to do, you must remember, and he just came back from China, China's watching very closely. This will affect what we do, what China does over the next decade with Taiwan. Mm-hmm. But we also can't confuse that Iran surviving is Iran winning. They have tactically been very devastated no matter what happens going forward. They can't import gasoline right now, and they can't sell oil to China. So what are American options here? And that really gets into really what we're talking about, a strike today or this week or next week. America could restart a tactical war, but to what ends? And will that, if they think they'll pressure Iran into a better deal, I'm not sure. Iran really could get a good deal because I think the president's willing to accept the flawed deal and call it a victory, and then avoid dealing with the War Powers Act over here. And it gets to your point, what you said was the continued U.S. blockade. That could go on, but he's going to need to explain that to the American people, why he's doing it, and ask for more patience.
Exactly, but we see that the president is hesitant. After all, he talks about the possibility of, resuming the attacks against Iran and then stopping because the Pakistanis asked to, because the Qataris asked the president to stop. What does that make of Trump's strategy right now? What is stopping him from, taking action, any kind of action after all?
I think the president was still hoping that the threats would affect Iran and that they would respond with something that he could accept. And I think Iran has strategized that it can wait the president out. We talked about the War Powers Act. You now have 3 Republican senators who are now wanting to bring on the War Powers Act. It's getting closer to that 50-50. Even in the House of Representatives, which is barely held by the Republicans, more Republicans are demanding some answers. Mm-hmm. And then we know that the president doesn't want to have a war going on July 4th, the 250th anniversary. So Iran is looking at this in a long game. Americans in general, the West always has a much shorter timeline, and they believe they can wait out the president.
Yes, World Cup, 4th of July, midterm elections, not the perfect year for a prolonged conflict. Thank you so much, Mr. Eric Mandel, founder and director of the Middle East Political Information Network.
Thank you for having me.